I would like to open up by saying I did not receive the questions in advance for this interview, unlike Kamala.
And we do not have earpieces in.
That's right, no earrings. You go first.
Hi there, I'm Linda Santoro, the partner for Caffè Santoro with my husband.
Ken, same last name. Ken Santoro. In case you needed that. I was born at a very early age. In Brooklyn, New York. Raised in Jersey. Moved to California in 81. 81. Grew up in basically the printing industry, the graphic arts industry. Was a pressman in San Francisco for a few years. Bought a little press and started a printing company for about 20 years. And through a series of events, I guess you could say, we eventually wound up opening the coffee bar at our church, helping out, and then running it during the middle of the week, and found that I enjoyed doing it. So when the opportunity came to take over an existing coffee shop, which wasn't very far, which was in Cameron Park, we went ahead and did it. Me and TJ, our son, and a few of the high school girls that we knew. And that was in 2008. With the help of our daughter, Jana, and our other children, we created the brand that you see behind us now, or on the shirt. And we've been at it through a series of different locations now here in Diamond Springs since, Diamond Springs was 2017. Mm-hmm. So that's basically it.
And I was born in Germany. My mom was German. My dad was U.S. Army military, and they met there. I was a baby when we moved to Ohio, and I grew up in the farm country in southeastern Ohio. I went on to Ohio State, so I'm a Buckeye, OHIO. I met Ken one summer while I was staying with a friend at the Jersey Shore. We were renting the upstairs apartment of his grandparents' house, and he came to check out the girls that were living upstairs, and that's how we met. 1972. 1974.
I just was out of high school in 72.
That's true.
So she had been in college for, 3 years? And I was in the military for 2. I was home on leave. She was on her way to Germany. I was on my way to Germany, and that was she says I came to check out the girls. It was really more of a meeting of we're going in the same direction, and we're like, oh, we're both going to Germany, and we started hanging out. I did ask her out on the one date. So
we went to a seafood restaurant, and there aren't many seafood restaurants in Ohio, so it was a really nice treat for me.
It was a very nice date. It was our only date, really, because after that we spent all of our time in Europe. She was trying to get an au pair position, and I was basically stuck on a military base. So our worlds really didn't intersect other than writing letters. And eventually, when she graduated college, she got a position with a family that fell through. So here she was without any real connection other than her family in Frankfurt. But I reached out to the chaplain on base, and they needed someone to watch their kids while they went back to Missouri to help out Chaplain Gibson's mom. Brought her back, and so she cared for grandmom, and she eventually wound up on base working at the NCO club. She actually taught conversational German, which I took her class. I was her worst student.
My star pupil.
Yeah. Warum? Darum. Close. We developed a relationship that was going somewhere. And what's funny is when it got towards the end of my enlistment, so we had to start making some plans. And we started planning for Linda to move to New Jersey without really thinking through well, what? So my mom wrote a letter asking me, what's going on here? Why is she moving to New Jersey? What?
Basically, what are your intentions, Ken?
Yeah. So that's when I proposed. And so we got engaged in Germany, married in Ohio, and started after the wedding. We lived in New Jersey. I worked for the family printing company for 4 years before we moved to California, where I took a pressman position in San Francisco. No.
Not really, no.
No. We're talking 74. Starbucks got started in 72. But, I mean, I did enjoy, I'll never forget when I was stationed, my first duty station was Minot, North Dakota. And if you got a cup of coffee on base, it was just a typical slur. But I remember going to a restaurant once, and I ordered coffee with dessert, and I thought, oh, this coffee is good. And that stuck with me. But that was it for specialty, if you could even call that specialty coffee. It wasn't. It was just a good cup of coffee. And then when we eventually got married and started having kids, I'm trying to think, where did we really start getting involved with thinking about having a coffee shop? It was in San Ramon. That little coffee shop. We would go on coffee shop dates.
Yeah.
But that wasn't until we had 4 kids. So
we had a potential opportunity to have a little coffee stand in a hospital, and we kind of investigated it just a little bit, but didn't go anywhere. Go far with it.
That was through. So our interest started getting piqued. I think it was because we really enjoyed this little coffee shop. We thought it would be fun to do, get out of printing. We were looking for ways to exit printing. So we went to a coffee show down in Long Beach. That was fun. We made contacts there. And that started the process of at least giving it some more consideration. So it took there was a long gap between that time, which was probably in the late 80s or early 90s, to 2008. So when we moved up here, the church we started attending had a little coffee bar. So we volunteered in that. That was kind of fun. And from that, when the situation that caused us to move here in the first place had ended, I had to figure out what I was going to do next. And one of my thoughts was, well, the church had been renting out modular buildings to the school, at the time Placerville Christian School. So there was life on the campus in the morning, and the coffee bar wasn't open. I said, hey, I'd open up the coffee bar for the staff, for the teachers, for the parents who are dropping kids off. And it went from not a lot of interest to having a little bit of a line after about a month of doing it. And I got to think, it was fun. For me, it was fun. It wasn't a big problem to get up at 4:30 in the morning, get over there, get the thing rolling, and be done by 10. And I would go out and do things like introduce myself to the schools across the street and tell them, hey, we're opening up the coffee bar over there. If you guys ever want anything, here's my phone number. So I was always good at trying to break through people's reasons why they won't do something different. One of the things that I learned since we've been in this business is the psychological hurdle that people have to go through to change their habits in the morning is tremendous. So I found a family that owned 2 Wendy's restaurants. And at the time, Wendy's was doing a survey and a test run on opening for breakfast. So this was quite a while ago. And the survey or the test, I guess it was it was more like a test run, I guess you could say. A test market. They did a test market, several places. These guys decided not to do it. And the main reason was the most difficult time of day to get people to change their habits is the morning. So I found that out later. And here I was, after we had opened up or taken over that coffee bar, 2008, in a hidden location where Starbucks was king and they were opening up drive-thrus now left and right. And here I was expecting people to just show up. No. So I would do crazy things like take 8-ounce cups, 3/4 full with a mocha or a latte, and a sticker on the cup that gave you a free drink. Get to the entrance to the freeway where the traffic signal would turn red. There'd be a line of cars. I'd be on that concrete divider, and I call it reverse panhandling. Knock on windows, people would be like, oh, what does he want? How about a free cup of coffee? Oh, thank you. And come on in for another free one with the little coupon that's on the cup. And I did that constantly. And that jump started us. Along with, if somebody came to us and asked, hey, would you show up at our event? I'd always say yes. I don't care what it was. I didn't have an espresso machine to carry with me. I would just bring brewed coffee. Sometimes I'd bring a little cooler, a freezer, and serve ice cream for the kids. Do whatever it took to get the big S out in front, and then hand out coupons and try to explain to people we're a new coffee shop, give us a shot, thanks for coming by, that kind of thing. Yes, that was our daughter who got a graphic artist that we knew. Actually, we knew this kid when he was a little guy. He and his wife created the artwork. We went through a whole process. It didn't just land on this. This took several back and forths, and we got all the kids involved. So everyone had a say, and I was probably the one with the least say. I tried not to insert myself. So we were very happy with what we came up with.
I think for me, the pinnacle of enjoying coffee was when I went to Germany for the first time. And the German coffee was stronger, I think, mainly. Had a good flavor. Plus, I was in Germany, and it was my introduction to my German family for the first time. So it all has this aura of, oh, a good cup of coffee. And my mom was so thrilled to be able to get her favorite kind of coffee again. So that would probably be the start for me. And then eventually having something unique at Starbucks, like a mocha, was like, oh, wow, this is really good. I enjoy this. So.
Yes, I worked at Starbucks for 1 year, and it was during the period of time that I had opened the coffee bar at the church. I'd done that for about, 4, 5, 6 months, something like that. And they did want to pay me, but I didn't want to take any money from the church. So after that period of time and realizing, oh, this is kind of fun, but it's not really a job, I wanted to find out if I could do this under the scrutiny of when life isn't perfect. Getting up at 4:30 or 4 in the morning to be there at 4:30, dealing with the public. Not everybody's very pleasant. Having to work with young people and being around them and seeing that interaction and having that be an everyday grind and see how I responded. So that was my number one thing. I was trying to find out if I could be in retail food service and not wind up hating it. As it turned out, I actually enjoyed it. And what I enjoyed the most, and one of the things I learned, this was from actually what I started doing is I would bring my camera into into the Starbucks, and I asked the manager if it was okay if I would take pictures of customers. But I wouldn't just ask them to pose for a picture. I'd ask them to take their cup, make sure that the little green goddess was showing, and act a little Hollywood. Put a little pose on. I accumulated those pictures and make a collage, and I'd stick it up on the community board. People would come in, they'd bring their family members so they could see their picture hanging on the wall. Well, from that, when I was after that first 1 year and I was getting ready to leave, they asked me to come to their leadership conference in San Francisco because they wanted me to take just little pictures of people of the whole thing, and they get to have access to those pictures immediately and throw them up on the screen in between sessions. So I said, "Oh, sure." They put Linda and I up in a nice hotel, and we went to the sessions. And during that time, I absorbed what some of these senior vice presidents in the company were saying. And one thing they said, Jim Alling got up, and his opening salvo was, "You know, guys, we're not in the coffee business." And I'm taking pictures and go, "What? We're really in the people business." And I was like, all my years of interacting with customers in the printing world, employees, the interaction I'd had just growing up, bad and good, all crystallized in that moment to say, that's it. I don't know if you ever read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. That book is all about that. So for me, I've used that little phrase to try to help these guys understand what really we're about here. And it's about serving. And I then try to get them to understand, yes, you want to serve your guest, your customer, but you really want to serve your team, because if you serve your team, you'll create an atmosphere that the guests will be attracted to. And serving the guest almost becomes a natural byproduct of serving in general. Serving the team's the hardest thing to do because you get to know these people and you may not always like them, but I'm still asking you to serve them. Do the things. And the reason that, sorry for going on, but this is really what animates me. One of the first problems I experienced at Starbucks was there'd be these 20-something girls, 19, 20, 21, 22, and some of them were pretty cute, and they had this, I don't want to work with my dad, someone my age. I was basically 51 at the time. Could you imagine? Here you are with people who are more your peers or maybe a few years older than you. You're in an environment that you want to be in. You've got the green apron. You're working at Starbucks. It's a prestige job as opposed to working at McDonald's, say. And now the manager hires someone who could be your dad. And you've got to teach him the ropes. And when you're 50-some years old, it doesn't take one time to be told. It takes 5 times to be told. Sometimes even more. And I used to feel the vibe of, I don't want to work with him. So I thought to myself, I'm either going to quit because this isn't working, or I'm going to figure out a way to win them. And the main way I won them was figure out what they didn't like to do and then do it. Whatever it was, whether it's cleaning the bathrooms, scrubbing the baseboards on the floor, washing the dishes. Huh? You do it. I would do it. I would be the first to do it. And after a while, I would fight them to do it because they would say, "No, Ken, you always do that. I'll do that." No, it's okay. And we had and it became this fun interaction. And the one girl who I felt the most negative vibe from, at the end of the time that I was there, wrote me a letter that I still have to this day. I came across about 6 months ago. And to this day, it still brings me to tears because she remembered some of those silly little idioms. One of them being whenever somebody would ask for a pastry, one of them was the bear claw. And I would used to say, "Hey, just so you know, as a customer service, be careful. I don't want you to get scratched by the bear claw." Those kind of silly little things. So, and we're friends to this day. It was more self-discovery than it was trying to pick up how to brew coffee, how to pull shots of espresso. By the time I actually worked for Starbucks, they had started to install super automatic machines. So the process of pulling a shot of espresso was no longer the skill of the barista. It was basically making sure the machine was adjusted properly and pushing a button. So it's not that I didn't really want to know that stuff. I did, but I was really more interested in knowing, could I do this over the long haul, and what would happen after a lengthy period of time? Would I be like, oh, I love this, or ooh, no way, not going to do this? That's basically that. So yes, yes, and the difference between that, it's not retail, it's a trade. It's like plumbing, carpentry, graphic arts is a trade. So you're interacting with people, but also interacting with technology and equipment. So yes, and then of course the business side of it is there's sales, there's inventory management, and then there's books, making sure you can pay people.
Right.
So
The financial side.
that's right. That is the hard side. We after Starbucks, and part of the reason I didn't stay with Starbucks is because I realized I wasn't going to be able to fit into the corporate structure. Because I specifically asked them to allow the woman who had hired me, she was a young gal, but what was key to her is she knew what she had in me. I didn't know what she had in me because I was discovering myself in this environment. What she had was a person who knew how to engage people and wasn't a shy teenager afraid to say, Diana, good morning, Diana. Because why would that be hard to say? Because what if I got your name wrong? And that'd be embarrassing. I didn't have that. I wasn't embarrassed. Hi, Diane. Oh, it's Diana. Oh, sorry, Diana. Oh, you must be a princess, you know? And that's what I would do. And I would do not just with Diana, I would do that with Joe. I'd do that. And I'd make sure I do it with Joe because then it wouldn't look like I was just doing it with...
And there was one incident that stands out to me from that time at Starbucks.
Yeah.
I came in to get coffee and I brought our son with us. And he decided to have a pastry that had the little clumps of pastries on it. So we went through the line and Ken was the one ringing up customers that day. So he took the bag and he like, oh wow, that looks really good. And he plucked a piece off and put it in his mouth. That is pretty good. The line
Everyone's
was
watching me.
The air went out of the room.
Yeah, could you imagine if someone grabbed a piece of your pastry and plucked a piece and popped it in your mouth and you're like,
Right.
so I said,
He was able to,
Handle that.
it's okay, everybody. That's my kid. He's lucky he got any of this pastry.
they all
Being relaxed.
They all
And
relaxed
they all
they
laughed.
And one person said, I've never had so much fun in a coffee shop.
Hey, maybe this is
I wouldn't even call it a dream. Growing up in the graphic arts, starting a print shop, and then having that basically end while we developed another business, which was vending. And I was thoroughly into building that, and it ended abruptly, and that put me into a spot where I had to figure out what to do next. So that part wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to do my dream thing. It was more like, let's go through this process of figuring out what's next. So it was really more of a process. And while we opened the coffee shop or the coffee bar at church. Then I went to Starbucks. That was a year. After they said, no, the woman who hired you can't train you, I realized, okay, I'm not going to fit in the corporate box. Our neighbors owned the Cold Stones in the area, and they were opening up El Dorado Hills, so they had been asking me to come on board and help them manage that store. So I figured, okay, this will be another good experience working with younger people and managing them, managing a store, and who knows, maybe I'll enjoy that, and maybe we could buy a franchise, which, by the way, they did offer me. I stuck around for that for a year, and when I realized, no, ice cream's a little too seasonal, and I'm a little concerned about the high royalties that they take off the top. So Nugget was just opening in El Dorado Hills, and the leadership team from the company used to go to what's now known as Forklift. It used to be Food for Less. That was the Starbucks that I was in. They used to come in and get coffee, and I'd remember their name. And so when I walked in to see if they were hiring, they hired me on the spot. They thought I was the manager. And I tried to tell them, no, you only think I'm the manager because I had more wrinkles than the other kids. And the people who opened the first coffee shop that we owned built the building, ran the coffee shop for a year, and they were failing. So they called me. They knew me personally. They called, left a voicemail at work, and asked if we'd be interested. So we met with them, and we decided to go for it. And that's sort of the process that it took to get us. So it wasn't like, here's my dream, I'd like to be in coffee. It more was this sort of process. And honestly, the first year, 2 or even 3, I would say the key to success was pushing through all of the problems that arise within yourself and around you, constantly.
Was it difficult to incorporate in your life?
So I always have people ask me, especially around this time of year when we're coming up on our anniversary, and I'll tell them we're coming up on 48 years of marital bliss. So Diana, you're supposed to ask me, Ken, to what do you credit 48 years of marital bliss? And to which I will answer, marry Linda. And it sucks to be you because I already married her.
Right. Aw, that's so sweet.
So
Yeah.
how is it? And I truly mean that. So she has the personality that puts up with my crap.
There's never a dull moment, let me say.
Yeah. There are plenty of times of self-doubt and wondering, why the hell did you put up with me and this crap that we've gone through? But then there are times, like I just recently had this little epiphany that my personality tends to go out there and do things, push the envelope a little bit, not extreme. I'm not Elon Musk. But you have to have some of that in you to do this kind of business, or any kind of business, honestly. But it also means we'll go and do a 17-day trip in Europe and visit 5 countries and meet with the Tates.
Definitely.
Well, one of the things we always say is when someone says, oh, do you own the coffee shop? We say, not exactly. It owns us. So it does consume a lot of our energy, our time, our focus. And I have another job, full-time job, working at Folsom Lake College. So I spend some time here. I go off to that job. And we do extracurricular activities like football games and other events. So it's a very central part of our lives. But we manage to, like you just said, get away and do a trip or spend time with family. We have a week every summer at Tahoe with our family that is like non-touchable. We don't touch that week. So non-negotiable, exactly.
Well, and the other thing that we forget a lot of times, because we incorporate it into our everyday life, is we've had many foreign exchange students in our home, which we started doing back when we had kids because we wanted our kids to have a little bit different cultural experience without having to spend a ton of money traveling around the world with an entourage of kids. And you really don't get to experience the culture that way anyway. But when you bring somebody who is from another country into your home and they live with you for 10 months, woo, that's a whole different ballgame. But if you're able to do it, you wind up developing friends all over the world. That's part of the reason for this most recent trip. We basically stayed with all these people who are from the Netherlands, Germany, Poland, Romania, and Italy. And it's just so much fun. You get to experience things that you would never do as a tourist. So we've done that. And from having people in our home, we've met other folks in the community where there have been needs for people who need housing, young people. So we've served in that way too. So it's not like we totally have given up our life for coffee. You just have to weave it in to everything that really makes that's more important than just earning buck. So And that's one of the reasons why I keep coming back to that phrase, we're in the people business. So, and it extends into pretty much every fabric of our life, whether it's Linda working at Folsom Lake College and serving people there, or foreign exchange students, or former foster kids who need a home, or these kids having a little special need and trying to understand where they're coming from. And just so you know, we're not perfect at it, and it does get to you after a while, but we've been doing it now since 2008. I don't know, how many years is that? 17?
16.
16. TJ was involved in it for about a year. I wore his ass out.
Didn't like it.
He didn't like me.
It's hard working
No, he
with
likes
Dad.
coffee. It's hard, yeah. Part of the reason why we moved to California was there was an opportunity to run a press in San Francisco, which was kind of cool. But working for the family was difficult. So I experienced that firsthand, and I totally got it. So, and TJ understood. And back then we couldn't pay him, so we weren't paying him a cent. So the fact that I asked him to get up, one of the times we went up, so at the time we weren't roasting our own coffee, we roast our coffee now. We were buying from a roaster up in Sumner, Washington. So we were up there visiting the roaster and seeing the facility. It was a beautiful winter's day up there, sunny and cold. I got a call early in the morning from one of the girls that was supposed to open the coffee shop, saying, from El Dorado Hills, saying, it's a blizzard. Now, I was stationed in North Dakota. I grew up in New Jersey. I think I know blizzards. They don't have blizzards here. Guess what? It was a blizzard. Oh, yes. It was back in 2009.
It had to be like 9.
Now this one, and all the way down in El Dorado Hills, they had like, I want to say 6 to 8 inches.
6 inches.
So I
The ground
called
was
TJ.
covered, yeah.
So she left a voicemail. This was at 4 in the morning. She's saying she can't get out of her driveway. I said I called TJ. He woke him up, and I asked him to look out the window, and I could tell he was having a hard time focusing. If you've ever been in a snowstorm at dusk, or at dawn, and it's white like that, it looks like there's nothing out there. So we were trying to wrap our heads around the idea of cash flow. So the idea of, instead of working for money, having money work for us. So one of those asset classes that you can build to have money work for you as a business. And this is sort of one of those applications to the things that we've been learning. And it was very difficult, and very difficult for a young person who basically is just out of high school, wants to have a little bit of a life and go to college. And here's his dad bitching and moaning about, why can't you, do this? Why can't you do that? Get up,
Right.
kind of stuff. But today he gets free coffee, and we'll see. I should ask him, do you consider it worth the effort, TJ? Mm-hmm. I think he would say yes. So, not opening it, there were lots of challenges. I don't know if I could say they were unexpected. You can't really anticipate everything. But the one thing that we did make a mistake about was expanding. I had a goal at the early stages to have 5 locations in 5 years. That was my goal.
5 years.
5 and 5. That was it. I kept saying that to myself. Yet when there were opportunities to expand into locations that people constantly said to me, oh, this would be good, oh, this would be good, I would always say no, because I would look at them and say, well, why did they fail? There was already an existing coffee shop. Why did they fail? And one was the It's a Grind at the end of the Safeway building in Cameron Park. But by the time the third person had failed, I succumbed to the temptation and took it over. We even did a crowdfunding campaign to raise money to get ourselves jump-started. Unfortunately, there have been things done to the building that we had to fix, and all that money went to fixing it instead of operational costs like payroll and inventory. So that put us in a difficult position. The one thing I did do right is we made it a short-term lease, so we only had it for 3 years, and we did everything we could to try to get that thing jump-started. The sales were moving in the right direction. We did ask the owners if they would consider lowering the rent and giving us another short-term lease. They said no, the rent's going up. So we said, Felicia. And honestly, that whole thing, that kind of ruined the service of the first location, and sales had dropped. We were at our lowest point and we were ready to quit. And that was in 2017. When one of the customers said to us, why don't you talk to Steve, who is the board president for the association that operates all the properties here at the fire station in Diamond Springs. And in a weak moment, I went up there and I talked to him. And then I brought Linda by to get her reaction. And instead of her saying, no way, Jose, she said, oh, this place is cute. So I blame her.
In a weaker moment.
So we went forward. Steve handed me the key, said to me, I'll trust you until you give me a reason not to. I took the key and went, okay. And we poured ourselves into this place. The second one, 6. It was a mistake. That location was a mistake. And I deflected because that wasn't my first opportunity to do it. I had other opportunities to do it. And I would always say no. Mostly because the first location wasn't sustainable. But by the time we got into year 6, I felt like we had enough sales. We had a good team. I thought we could do it. I had someone who was going to manage the first store. And basically when you do something like that, you find all of the weaknesses really fast. And the question is, can you strengthen those weaknesses or shore them up well enough to get through? And apparently I could not. So, and it basically just ruined our whole experience, made it very difficult. So we were quitting. Literally, if this person had said something to me and told me to go talk to Steve, the association, we would have been, I don't know what we would be doing. She would be working at FLC and I'd be a bum. Hanging out at the bar drinking beer. Because you guys used to come around, you and your dad, and have the coffee dates, and I really focused more on your dad, who, in my opinion, is a stately gentleman. He just has a presence about him that I thought, oh, so cool to have him, and he would bring friends, and it was a regular customer. And I had no idea that you were training yourself to do this kind of work. So when you sent the email out and I responded to it, I had no idea it was you. And I don't know if I would have even remembered that association. But when we met and then I put 2 and 2 together, I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. And I'm thoroughly into this process. Although what's really cool about this is I don't have to do anything. Now,
You cannot worry about this.
I don't have to worry about it. I open up my phone, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Sometimes I go, oh, I would have done that a little different. So see, there's my micromanagement thing. And that helps me in that area too, because I'm going to, no, Ken, let it go. Let it go. There's no more. Now, the different emphasis. We have a 3-pronged approach. Brick and mortar, which is in good shape right now. Then a mobile. And coffee sales online, whole bean coffee sales online. So that's we've done a pretty good job here with the brick and mortar. I'm trying to find someone who will run it, so I don't have to be here as much as I am, because so we bought a vintage coffee truck and we're developing that. Once that's done, we're going to create a route. And I want to find someone who will be able to run that route. And of course, then there are special events, like next weekend we'll be at the little kids soccer, I forget the name of the soccer league, Jamboree over at Indian Creek. Last night we were at the football games. We personally weren't, but I helped set up, and the girls then run it and break it down. So that's part of mobile, and if you pick the right venues, it can be very successful. But the key to mobile is consistency. Actually, that's the key to anything. But in mobile, it's much more difficult because if you're sitting in a spot and it's not generating enough revenue, then the temptation is to close down and to go. And if you're going to develop a spot to be in on that day or whatever time, you better be there. Because the people who say, "Ooh, that was good," and then they come back next week and you're not there. So, and it has to be clean and it has to look. So those are all the things that we're working on for the mobile. Then the roasting. So I went and got myself trained. I did not want to roast coffee because of the technical aspect of operating a piece of equipment, which isn't as technical as printing, but it's still, if you produce a product and people like that product, you better be able to produce it over and over and over and over and over again.
With the same
So
quality that
that's right. Well, and then taking care of the equipment. So that means I'd be chained to a piece of equipment and that process. So I'm looking to expand that. So that's sort of the focus. And here we are, early 70s. We've only got probably another 8 years. I'd like to think 5, to get this place in a place where we have managers and we don't have to operate it hands-on. We can just meet with our managers and keep the thing going in the way that people are expecting it to go. They become accustomed to, hey, I come here because I love this coffee. I come here because I love the way they treat me. I come here because it's cute, whatever. Yeah. I'll let you tell that story.
The whole logo and the concept was developed by our daughter Jana, working with the graphic artist. And she came up with the term based on this guy's exuberant personality, that we should call it coffee with personality. And so a lot of times when people come in and they first see us and they say, "I want to see the personality," I'll say, "da da 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 da," or he'll say something funny. And the whole logo was designed, like he was explaining earlier, there were at least 3 or 4 different choices. And the kids got together and voted on which one they liked. And they chose the big S. And so that's been the beginning. And
So I'm going to add to this.
Cafe is the Italian way of
Yeah,
saying.
2 F's is more European. But I didn't want our name to be associated with the coffee shop. But I had to defer because it's an Italian name. And we did want to have that feel of Italian espresso. Since that time, the coffee industry has kind of moved to third wave coffee shops, where the coffee experience is a little bit lighter roast and has more of the fruitier notes, maybe even a little acidity. I've never really liked that. So of course, since we developed it, we tend to move in the direction that what we think the broader public will enjoy. We too try to accommodate. We do roast things lighter now that I control the roasting. But back to the original developing of the brand and the name, basically that was this process that we went through, and I went with it. I didn't interfere.
And part of it is Caffè Santoro means coffee the Santoro way.
So yes, Janet came up with this whole little blurb that you could probably read on the website that we probably should rework someday. And from that blurb comes the part, it's coffee with personality. And I stole that out of there to make it our tagline, which we've had for pretty much the whole time. So, of course, that becomes a bit of a problem. How do you wind up having your team exhibit some sort of personality? And I tell them all the time, it's not coffee with my personality necessarily. Well, it is when I'm here, but it's going to be coffee with your personality. What's your personality like when you have a slumber party with your friends? So that's what I'm looking for, only don't bring any pillows.
And jammies.
Yeah. I want to see you enjoy being here with the team and with your guests. And that's hard, especially when they're young. So I think for the most part, we do it. You get some complaints that, it's not, we're not hitting the mark on that area. And I don't overly do that. My main key I focus on is serving, because serving requires selflessness. That's really hard. I asked one kid that, I don't know if we hired her. I said, do you have a sister? Oh, yeah. Oh, how old is she? Just a year younger than me. How would it be if you, for 1 week, went into her room and made her bed for her? You could see her go, oh. She lived that moment in her head. I said, well, that's what serving is. If you could do that, you can serve anyone.
According to that mission that you have.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I don't focus on other cafes. Now, I shouldn't say that completely. When we were in Europe, every time we were in a cafe, I was looking around. I was trying to come up with ideas. I loved a lot of the things that we experienced.
I want to say it's the experience of having fun, like the eating the donut out of the bag, that kind of thing. Ken's good at just being natural with people and joking and teasing and doing things that make people laugh. So I think that's
Yeah, and then that's problematic because as I seek to grow this, I'm not going to be here all the time. So how can I get our team to create an atmosphere that can be enjoyable for everyone? And I go back to that word serving. I feel like if you can serve your team members, then this type of atmosphere will pop up naturally, because no one, I don't think anyone looks at themselves in the mirror and says, you're boring. No, everyone thinks they have a personality. So what I'm asking them to do is create an environment where that personality will come bubble up to the surface. So are we hitting that? I don't know. I'd say that's sort of the hallmark or the goal that would set us apart. That does set us apart. I'd like to think it does. The other thing that we do try to do is online sales. Now, Starbucks has it down to a science. We were doing it before Starbucks had their app. And what I used to do is use either texting or a social media chat app, like Yahoo had a chat app. Problem with that is it would sign you off if something happened with the network, and then we'd miss the orders. I would constantly tell people, text in their order. And then when we upgraded our point of sale, it came with a module for online orders. And I believe our online presence is smooth. It can compete against the big boxes now. Of course, it's challenging up here because the networks are sometimes not the best, and so people do have a hard time connecting sometimes. I do give them the option to call in. That does make it a little challenging for us to be able to take online orders, take a call, and make drinks and serve people who are in the store. So during certain peak periods of time, that's a little tough, but we're constantly working at it. And I believe a lot of the coffee shops in our area do not roast their own coffee. Some do. I'd like to think that our consistency and the way that we roast probably sets us apart too. I'd like to think that. I leave that up to the guests.
no. I think the friendliness, we try to instill in the employees to be friendly, remember people's names, smile, and that whole aspect of making the person feel important. I think is what helps customers want to come back.
I just saw a slide pop up. It was from one of our team events. So that's something that I probably should mention. When I hire somebody, I tell them, I put them through a little bit of a question and answer type of thing. And I try to get them to understand we have two groups of people that occupy the store. And those two groups are the team and the guests. And which one is the most important to me is the question that I try to get them to answer. The answer is it's the team. Because if the team isn't doing what we need them to do, the guests will get the vibe and they won't return. So we do 4 events. 2 of them are getting on the same page and sort of going over systems that we try to implement and reinforcing certain aspects of what we're supposed to be doing and try to get everyone on the same page. And then the other 2, I call them sucks to be you if you miss them because they're fun. Go up to Tahoe, spend a day at the beach, just hang out, swim, play silly games. We have a mandatory cornhole tournament and you win a little prize and we feed you and it's fun. It's a fun day. And we shut the coffee shop down for that day. So no one has the excuse I have to work. Then there's the upcoming one in December where we went bowling once. We went ice skating where she took one for the team and broke her wrist. So we do a lot of fun things and we don't talk about work. We don't bring anything up. It's just purely to try to connect and build a team camaraderie. I think that you read books on management and you read books on interpersonal relationships. You pick up those little idioms, little concepts, but that along with life experiences, being part of a team, being managed by someone that doesn't respect you and how that whole dynamic winds up working versus working for someone who absolutely understands the kind of person you are and gives you the freedom to operate. So you learn those things and you go, gee, that's sort of what I want to implement. Am I perfect at it? No, I'm not. But those are the things that kind of animate me. It used to be the cure. I don't promote it quite as much anymore. You want to hear the cure story?
We want to hear.
Okay.
Of course.
When I worked at the Green S, do you know the Green S? Okay. And it would get very busy, and you'd have 10 cups, all blended drinks, and they would all be different. It was quite a challenge to get those drinks perfect. And if sure enough, somebody would kick one back and say, this isn't blended well enough, or it doesn't taste good, or whatever. And the young people who worked there at the time would get frustrated by that. And I would say to them, we just need to cure them of the Frappuccino blues. They're experiencing the Frappuccino blues. Well, when I went to work at Cold Stone, we would make milkshakes. And I thought, oh my gosh, these milkshakes are so good. They cure you of the Frappuccino blues. I was trying to find ways to say, hey, come get a milkshake. Don't go get one of those stupid fake milkshakes at Starbucks. Well, when we started our own coffee shop, I came up with an idea of adding a little ice cream. Since we offered ice cream at the coffee shop, here we had ice cream, so why not use it in a blended drink? Not a whole lot, just enough to turn the blended frappe creamy and smooth. And we came up with a recipe that was unique to us, and I called it the cure because it cured you of the blended drink blues so that we wouldn't be infringing on a trademark. So, and at the end, you would take a taste. I'd make sure you'd take a taste, and they'd go, oh yeah, that's really good. And I'd take I'll do it to you. You've been cured. You've been cured. I don't do that quite as much as I used to. So that's a tricky one because you would go out of business supporting all the different causes that people get involved in and feel like you could support. In the grand scheme of things, coffee shops have very tight margins. And even a McDonald's have very, if you think about right now, you can go to McDonald's and get a double cheeseburger, 4 nuggets, a small fry, and a drink for $6. Now, they make no money on that. That's just to get people in the door. But that shortens that margin between cost of goods, employees, and their profit. You can't sustain that if you're just selling $6. So the same thing here. The margins are tight. And then to say, oh, can you donate to this cause and that cause? But because I do want the community to come in, I do want to support them, and I do. So I have a yes answer to those requests. Our yes answer is typically if they do a silent auction at a dinner or something, we donate whole bean coffee, a coffee mug or coffee mugs, and a gift card. And the gift card, of course, gets them to come back in. So that's a nice, it usually runs around $70 of actual retail value. And it's our way of supporting the community that way. People are usually very appreciative of that. We're, the school, Indian Creek, is going to have a Veterans Day flag salute. And we're donating the coffee to that, actual brewed coffee. We usually, we appreciate first responders. Of course, they're our landlord. But beyond that, it's sheriff, firefighters, people who serve our community. We give a significant discount. It's almost the same as an employee discount. It's hard to get the kids to remember to hit the discount button. And they're very gracious usually when they come in. Oh, it's okay. But I want them to experience that because it is, if they come in regularly, so that's another way. There's typically, if we go to an event with our truckster, we usually are giving a percentage of the sales to that event. I think those are the ways. But overall, we want people to feel like this is their place. So one of the things I learned from the big boxes is, and this is stealing from the Green Apron, they wanted to make their place for you your third place. Where would third place be? Starbucks, the coffee shop. So we'd like to think that you'd make this your, maybe not your third place, but the place that you would go with your friends to visit, to hang out. And then when you do want that cup of coffee that you enjoy, go online, order it, and grab and go when you're in a hurry. And we'll beat the drive-through line any day.
I think it's covered. I think we covered it. Just being willing to donate coffee. When the sheriff's department brought the what are they? The people who come to kind of help during COVID, keep things under control. We went to the sheriff's department.
Oh, the National Guard.
National Guard were there.
We showed up and served them. That was totally voluntary on our part. Well, we wanted to say thank you for that because this county created a safe space for people to be able to live during a difficult time. The sheriff's also does a thing for the families. They have a Santa event, so we show up with the little truck and that one's a big deal because I freeze my butt off out there for them. They're all inside and I'm out there. Well, we both are freezing. Last year wasn't so bad, but there was one year it was really cold. On a personal note, because we get involved with so many young people through hiring, you get to know what their lives are like a little bit. And for those who really are struggling, if we get to know about it, we try to help. And we've done things like house them or serve them in other ways to try to help, because it's rough, especially being that age and having personal issues, whether it's family or whatever it is. And that has led for other community officials to know about this and then reach out to us to ask if we could help in other ways. So we don't shy away from that. We always try to find a way to say, here's how we can help, without it being so burdensome that it sinks the ship.
Your journey as Caffè Santoro.
I think the first episode was a lady who had just recently lost her husband. And she would come to the coffee shop and sit in a chair and do some crocheting or visit with friends now and then. And it just felt good to offer her a place where she could.
Yeah, it wasn't like we were doing anything special.
Yeah.
And that was her second place. She didn't have a job. She was retired. She would do her crocheting there. And then she started giving her crocheting little knitted hats and gloves to the girls that worked there. And she, in essence, would start adopting them, not in a true sense, but she was the most disappointed when we left Cameron Park and moved here. She's been in here a few times now, and she would always say, it's not the same, it's not the same, it's not the same. So, I mean, we felt badly. And it's funny, her son worked over at the Save Mart, so he would see Linda all the time when she'd go in. So there was that strong connection. Trying to think of, we've gotten to know quite a few customers over the years who have made a strong connection with us because they see the amount of effort we put into this business, and they see how it does serve the community at large, which they feel a part of. And I don't shy away from some strong political opinions, although I do try to temper it to some extent. Although I also try to make it a little humorous, like making the Americano great again.
Right.
I love that one.
I was
It's Americano. It's an extra drink, and it's the drink that I enjoy. And every morning I'm critical of it. Did I make my Americano great again?
it's funny.
This is easy. I hope they feel what you felt. What you felt caused you to want to be the media marketing gal for this company. Unrelated to anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't know who was sending emails, and so when we met, I didn't even know it was you until we started talking a little bit, and then I put two, and then we, oh, that's who you are. Oh, that's your dad. Yay! So,
happy.
yes, I was so happy, and I can tell that you're enjoying doing it too. And to me, that's the goal. Now people will do their best work when they wind up being in a situation where they want to be in the situation they're in. And then the motivation factor is almost a non-factor because it's internal. And so that doesn't mean that you don't overcome some hiccups and push through. So what is that specifically? In my mind, it's this feeling that I know I'm going to get a good product. The place is clean. The service is friendly. They're going to, and when I get a latte, it's going to be as good as the one before. So all of those little important details that are not overly important come to the big one, which is I get affirmed by how they don't just do it for me, but they do it for everybody. Everything that I see happening here confirms that this is the right place to be in. So hopefully that's a lot of ways of saying that my decision to come here for my coffee or breakfast sandwich is constantly reinforced by the consistency of that experience over and over again.
I just call it, I want to be happy. I want to be
When they come
interacting with pleasant people. I want to take my drink and say, oh, that's good, and have a smile.
I tell the kids, if you can greet somebody when they first walk in the door with a smile and an upbeat, if you can remember their name, all that stuff, then you've already elevated their experience to where whatever they put to their mouth is going to be that much better. So we've started off in the right direction. But if you don't, and they're already in a down mood and they feel that something's not right or whatever, then whatever they put to their mouth is already going to start tasting bad. So you can elevate their experience from the moment they walk in the door. Have you done the Chick-fil-A? What do they say all the time? Instead of you're welcome, my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So when I walk into Chick-fil-A, you need to come into Chick-fil-A with me one time, because I do it all the time. Before they can even utter a word, I say, no, no, no. You can't have my pleasure. It's mine and you can't have it. That's it. They're like stunned. And then, of course, we get into, I order the thing and I say, thank you. No, you can't have it. Don't take my pleasure. One kid said to me, are you from corporate? Oh.
Ride the spider to Lake Tahoe for the day.
Okay, that's good. I wanted her to answer. So yes, that's a good answer.
ex-employee.
Number 5, of course. So I used to call her number 5 because we had 4 biological children, and she was like our 5th one. So, and I would call her Katie Catherine Jane, pure and gracious, because that's basically what those words mean. And she is truly a special individual in our lives.
Yes! Jillian, yes!